oh, here are my stats. I jumped this far. Here are my awards. I was 17-time gold medalist. And it's like coaches
Right.
don't care. It's like, how do you respond to you're in last place if we need you to score 1 point at conference? Coaches are asking that, you
Dude.
know?
All right. Well, round two. We're back with Keinan Briggs. I just
Yeah.
wanted to hear from you. Yeah, like what's been going on? So first off, how you been?
I've been great. A lot of busy things going on, but I'm learning busy is good, and
Yep.
in the beginning, it was more of like I was running a track program,
Mm.
and now I've switched it to running a business. And so
Oh,
that
right.
that business piece, I'm like, oh, these are the type of decisions I need to make. This is how I handle management. This is how I, do all these things. So like I noticed my social media has also shifted, but all those things have been creating more to-dos on my list.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning how to, delegate, manage my time, organize things, and
Right.
yeah. So just a lot of good things, but just it essentially comes down to my personal growth has been developing so much more from before. So
That's awesome. And
yeah,
so anytime, something goes from hobby or passion to business, obviously there's just more work involved. Like you said, you're having to learn how to delegate. How has that affected you as Keenan Briggs, the coach, being spread apart in a bunch of different areas? And like, are you able to still kind of focus and really like participate into the meat of what you do, which is help kids get better at long and triple jump?
yeah. The first wake up call is it's diluted the program because before
Interesting.
it was 100% me.
Mm.
Like everything was my responsibility. I knew the athletes in and out. I knew their every single goal. And now I'm pushing 65 to 75 athletes,
Yeah.
so it's like I can't do all the work,
Right.
so now it's trusting that I can develop other coaches who are willing and open, to just hear other philosophies and grow. And so now it's, I know that Coach Art will say exactly what I think, will be the best for the athlete, but then I'm also trusting that their opinion is the best for the athlete. So it's a trust process,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but at the end of the day, like I 100% know that I would give the best, opinion from my perspective. And
For sure.
now it's trusting that the other coaches will give their best opinion that's also in line with what I think should happen at that moment.
Yeah.
And I've learned that through the business learning that's part of business. It's trusting others with your brand, your image, and
Mm.
it's scary. It's
Y-
scary,
Yeah, for
100%.
sure. Yeah.
I can only imagine like it's like, having a babysitter. Like you can't just have a random babysitter just
Oh,
raising
man.
kids, so it's like
Yeah.
you're trusting that what they're telling you and what you feel is right. And
Right.
that's exactly what it is. So this is my baby, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's crazy. Has it been tough or easy or
Um,
transitioning to letting go a little bit more, I guess?
I would say it's easy only because I have to let go as a coach when my athletes either leave or they make their own
Mm.
decisions on their actions.
Yeah.
You know, I've had some athletes that decided to either go different directions, not for like because of the team, but more of just because they love other sports.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
like I 100% know you're going to be a full scholarship athlete in this event.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoy softball or golf or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, I can't get frustrated at that because
Right.
I quit football. I quit football and like that was my
Right.
thing at the time. So
Yep.
it's just reminding myself that that's my journey.
Yeah.
That's their journey.
Right.
Yeah, and just kind of letting go basically.
Mm. Yeah, no, that reminds me actually. I was watching our previous interview, just kind of, refreshing my mind, and one thing you had said in there was like, my goal is to help you reach your goals. And so like in the
Yeah.
exact circumstance, if ultimately their goal or what they want is something else, like that's really what you want for them. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
recently had an athlete, Madison Forbes.
Okay. Yep.
She's the one freshman year, jumped 18.8, 38.8 in triple jump.
Gee.
Did really well. And then I just feel like she's just maturing
Mhm.
and, making her own voice be known. And, she feels that right now is the time for her to kind of just be a social butterfly.
Hmm.
And it's like, I can't get mad at that. I can't really,
Right.
she has so much potential, but it's like, but that's not really her thing. She just happens to be good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm understanding that and just pretty much loving unconditionally is the
Right.
easiest way to put it.
Yeah. And you can give as much input as you want and like encouragement and be like, hey, like, helping them see like something that they're really good at and have been gifted with. But yeah, like you said, ultimately it's up to them and what their heart wants. So cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, give us maybe a couple highlights or just run through the whole highlight list of the last couple seasons. You said things went well, so and I've been watching
Yeah.
and yeah.
Let me see. So 2021, that year was obviously for us in California, it was like a modified year.
Okay.
We didn't have a state championships. They just had our divisional championships.
Oh, interesting.
That was Miles Carter, Emily. Um, so Miles Carter was CI champion, and then Emily was also CI champion for her division. She dropped 2 seconds in the last two meets.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, she was just the girl that nobody expected to win
Yeah.
other than us.
Mm,
We knew the game plan. She trusted it.
right.
Um, her coaches at her high school did a great job with getting her mentally ready and, getting her athletic ability there.
Yeah.
And then, she was still coming to us. So we could only work around, that program.
Yep.
So we just figured out, okay, what else can we add to this program?
Sure.
We can't run you, we can get you more flexible, but
Yeah.
it was more of just about balancing her
Yep.
mental state, because there was so much pressure on the team to do well. The team was stacked that year,
Okay.
and she had these goals of like, I want to go to SMU, and she just wasn't getting the offer. The coach is like, you're not there yet. So she's, a senior. She's down to the last month of track, and she's like, I don't know what to do. So we kind of just guided her through that process mentally. And then we found that there was a hole in her step count. She didn't
Oh,
have a set step count for the hurdles. So she would approach the hurdles differently every race. And
wow.
so,
Okay.
yep. And we said, okay, we're going to be on your left leg at this hurdle. So we practiced that hurdle. We practiced that left leg. We practiced her step count to the first hurdle. We knew, okay, we got to get to this many steps to the first hurdle. So we're on this pace. If we're not,
Mhm.
then we're behind. And so she literally ran that like Sydney McLaughlin race where
Yeah.
like it's the same race every time. And if you want to improve your time, well, then you have to subtract a step. When you subtract the step, now you're switching your blocks. Now you're
Oh,
switching
right.
your hurt. Like it's a whole process.
Man.
Um, and so my assistant coach Mike, he really like was the guy who put those numbers together,
Mm.
and it just worked, and then boom, boom, drop those times down.
Yeah.
CI champion, and then because of that, I believe it was she ran I forgot the time. It was very fast time. I think it was like
Okay.
way faster than her PR before
Yeah.
and her average time for that year. And then she's now a junior at SMU.
Okay.
She made
Sweet.
she made the team. Yeah. And Miles Carter went to Mount Sac. He did a great job there. He's just, living life now. Um, just one of those kids that were affected by COVID. Just
Yeah.
like everything just shifted, and it was just hard for him to really bounce back. I mean,
Yeah.
he has now, but when it comes to sports, like you lose so much traction. You're like in
Hmm.
your peak shape, and then all of a sudden everything stops. So,
Yeah.
but he did really well, and oh man, I can't even think back that far. But those kids did really well. And then 2022, that's where we got Kimani really dialed in. Kimani's
Oh
my
yeah.
brother, long jumper.
Yep.
That was his first year healthy all year, all through
Really
college. He had
interesting.
never had a healthy year. So I was able to really like change everything in his training.
Yeah.
And he finished ninth at USA Championships.
Yep.
Dami made USA Championships also that year, but that was the
Mhm.
year she decided to transfer out. So we just had her not compete at the USA Championships just because of it was at Oregon, and that's where she was.
Yeah.
And there was just any emotional piece that was there for her leaving.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
you just don't want to kind of go into that too far. Just said, just come back home and we'll
Yeah.
reset you. But that year was just great. I think that year I had 18 individuals qualify for the USATF Junior Nationals, the
Wow.
JO, which was like unheard of. We had a team of
Yeah.
like 30,
That's
at
awesome.
that
Yeah.
competitive level, and 18 made it. All individual events, no relays.
That's legit.
And then we had a national champion in the multis, which was great. I don't specifically coach the multis, but I coach each element to the highest level.
Sure. Right. Yep.
So, he improved. Blaze Burwell, he improved from, I believe it was like 5'5" to 5'11" in the high
Okay.
jump,
Yeah.
which obviously changed his multi-score.
Right. Right.
You had hurdles, which dropped him, I believe it was 2 seconds, which changed his
That's a big point
multi-score.
swing. Yep.
Yeah, that really helped out. And then he's able to finish first place. Didn't work out in long jump. Long jump, he also improved from, I believe it was 15 to 19.6. So
Okay.
yeah. Well, one, he grew.
Okay.
Like that was one, like he grew.
Yeah.
But now you make a consistent approach on the runway.
Right.
You
Right.
figure out your approach, like the basics.
Okay.
So that was really, really, really great. Yeah, and then so many kids. I don't even remember how many kids got onto the podium, but it was a
Yeah.
great amount. And then last year was like less total athletes, and we had 16 that
Okay.
qualified for nationals.
Only
But
16, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it's like always level up, right? But
Yep.
but the ones that could have didn't, because they were going to college. So last
Oh,
we had
okay.
14 seniors, 11 all went to college.
Yep.
11, actually it's 12 of the 14 are competing in college, and then 8
Awesome.
of the 12 are competing D1.
Okay.
So like I love saying that, because like it's hard to get a D1 scholarship,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these kids are at like San Jose State, Cal Berkeley, Cal State Northridge,
Yeah.
UCI. Like they're at really dominant programs.
Yeah.
And I'm just very proud of our staff for, being able to multiply and scale the business,
Yeah.
and get kids to their goals. So I'm just really excited. And this year it's going to be the same thing, just with the depth of talent. And so last year was year 10 of Leap Squad.
Yeah.
I didn't really announce it. I probably should. I was out with the vengeance. Like this year that separates Leap Squad from other programs, and just really shows what it could do, and show kids that resources are out there for them.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I don't know if, like, did you touch on Kamani jumping 822? What the heck?
Yeah, he was due for
Oh yeah, for sure.
it.
But man, like, that's a bomb.
Yeah. So with Kimani, like he's my brother. So like
Yeah.
it's put the hat on for brother, put the hat on for coach.
Yep.
What he's learning now is I'm going to support whatever his decision is.
Okay.
So we figured out, okay, the first couple years was just me getting his body out of college shape and into
Yep.
professional long jump shape, which is way
Sure.
different.
Yeah.
And then we knew that he needed more speed training.
Okay.
And he was I had him running, but I needed to get his form correct first. His
Oh,
running form,
sure.
those things. I'm like, I need you to be with adults, like other men,
Yeah.
training. Like you're here with the kids, with
Yeah.
us. So
Yeah.
it's like I need you around other men. So he ends up finding the Sharks with JB, and so he balanced the sprints with JB and Leap Squad program. So he was able to merge the two. JB and I spoke, and we're like, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
So that's how that worked last year. The part where Kimani faltered was his own body management,
Okay.
because typically, I'll have them start with their base training every year,
Mm-hmm.
and then gradually work into sprints.
Yep.
Well, he took his rest and then went straight into sprinting.
Okay.
So I saw him a lot less. So he didn't get his reps for jumping.
Yep.
He didn't get all the jump training in.
Yeah.
And essentially went on the same program he did when he was in college, where he was consistently hurt because he was doing more sprint training than
Yep.
jump training. And then his body couldn't handle the load of jump training.
Right.
And so right when he hit 822, the next week, hamstring. And
Gotcha.
so nothing to do with my program or JB's program.
Sure.
Like he was ready for it. It was just the combination of the two, just it didn't balance.
Yeah.
And so, obviously he was upset because he was like, I could have went to Worlds, I could have did all these things, but I just put everything in perspective. I'm like, how many times have you jumped with me this year?
Yeah.
And it was once all season.
Yeah.
So he literally just took his speed training onto the runway. So now we know, keep your speed going and then bring the jump consistently back in. He's good to go.
Yeah.
So, but shout out to JB. He's now at SC. Sprint
Okay.
coach over there.
Sweet.
Yeah, they picked him up.
Nice.
Probably one of the best pickups, and I think he's going to change the Pac-12. I really
Okay.
do.
Sweet. Looking
You
forward to
know,
it.
I'm sure it's going to be even bigger than the Pac-12,
Yeah.
but just immediate impact is going to be he's going to be a problem at the
Yeah.
Pac-12. He
That's
knows what he's
awesome.
doing. He really gets the kids really like fired up and does it the
Yeah.
right way, and they just respect him. You know, he's a player's coach. Yeah, just super good. So Kimani learned a lot during that time. He's now seeing like having two coaches isn't the best
Okay.
plan. So he now understands, okay, like I might be great in these areas and lower in the other ones. Making them even, if it requires two coaches, it
Yeah.
might not be the best for him.
Yeah.
So, but it worked out because JB's now with SC. So
Yeah.
Kimani still needs that work. So I'm going to fill in that gap and shift my coaching style to add
Sure.
more of JB's philosophy
Right.
of
Right.
speed for Kimani. So,
Well, and
but we're celebrating.
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's exciting. And like at that level now, pro level, like since he's not on a college team and not needing to, perform at, conference meets or like other meets for points and stuff like that, you can really kind of experiment and dial in training specifically for him. So, and his
Yeah.
season, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. I want to say like the biggest challenge is he has to work. He has to eat. He's got to pay bills.
Oh, right, right.
Like those parts, luckily I went through it too. So I understand how to kind of like navigate through.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a whole business in itself.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like I have to coach him virtually. Him as a pro, he competes on Saturdays,
Right.
at 10 o'clock. And I'm with the youth. I'm with 30 kids
Yeah.
at another track meet.
Yep.
So and on top of that, like I don't really have a full team for the post collegiate athletes.
Okay.
Even though I have a resource for it now, but I'm not physically there with him at all the meets.
Yeah.
And so I have resources for him. So it's
Yeah.
working out and it's developing now. But he's understanding too, like he's going to be at track meets by himself.
Yeah.
He's at USA's
Gotta
by
learn
himself.
that.
And
Yeah.
then he gives the phone to somebody so they can record it and then I can coach him through the phone.
Right. Right.
So it's that type of balance and which allows the virtual team to really thrive because
Yeah.
the results are the same.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about that real quickly, and then I want to get back into like the college recruiting process and
Yeah.
all those students that you've had go on to collegiate levels and Division I and whatnot. But yeah, so what brought about the virtual team and how does it work for you?
So the virtual team started back in like 2015. Jordan Neely from Canada, his dad reached out and was like, yeah, I've been watching all your videos. Like we've improved this much already by watching on YouTube. And like, how do we get more information? And I was like, I don't know. Let me see him jump, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of just gave him some tips and then he passed those tips on to his coach. Then the team dismembered or whatever, dismantled. And he was like, we got to figure this thing out. And I was like, okay, we're here, do these workouts for now. And he kept improving. Like it was like 1 meter every single
Wow.
year. Yeah, it was crazy. And he just kept winning. Like every email I would get, he's like, hey, Jordan just improved this and that. And I was like, wow, And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, they're in Canada and it's working,
Mhm.
And then I started pushing my DVAs, my digital video analysis.
Yeah.
And so I had athletes saying, hey, here's my jump. Can you help me? And then I would get an email back like, hey, I made nationals. Hey, I improved 2 feet. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't even know you. And I only seen one of your jumps. And the one that like baffles me, I mean, it doesn't because I know my worth,
Right.
but like
Right.
it's still pretty cool, right? Nia Lincoln out of Atlanta, I think it was her senior year. The dad messaged me. He's like, this is my daughter. She is jumping 36s, but we know she's better. And
Yeah.
I watched her jump and I was just like, okay. I'm like, you're on the wrong foot. I don't know how. I just said, you're on the wrong foot, switch legs. He might have said she jumps both legs the same, but I was like, use the other foot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you should be at 39.6. Just put out a number. I'm like, you should be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear from them, Then I'm at New Balance Outdoor Nationals in North Carolina A&T. And this is like 2000, I think it's 2017, I think, or 18, something like
Okay.
that. And then I get a text from he's like, hey, you at Nationals? And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Like, what's up? And he's like, oh, we want to come by and say hi. I want to have Nia say hello to you and thank you. Well, the story was she improved 3 feet to 39.6 literally 2 weeks later. So like
That's awesome.
2 practices later after using that
The
input.
opposite foot. Yeah.
Yep. and made New Balance Nationals and is now a senior at Eastern Michigan.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like,
Love that.
so then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that's good, and then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I got to push the virtual thing. There are kids that are
Right.
like, how do I improve? Like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
So then I started just writing down, okay, well, here's the program that we do.
Hmm.
And I was thinking like, well, I don't want to give up my program, but I'm like, who cares? You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Like I'm not gonna hold on to this gold mine just because like I don't want other coaches to have it. It's like,
Right.
who cares?
Like that's the
Like,
point anyways, to
yeah,
have. Yeah.
yeah. And then I just started thinking about like what I've been through and the things that I do outside of the program. And it's
Hmm.
like any coach can get an athlete better. Go run, you're gonna get faster.
Right.
Lift
Right.
weights, you're gonna get stronger. So it's like, here's the program, follow this. The first official like Leap Squad virtual athlete in that official program was Kushal Pai out
Okay.
of Portland, Oregon. He's like, yeah, I want to do this. So I said, okay, it's a year program. You're gonna be
Yeah.
by yourself a lot. You're going to have coaches that maybe don't like the program.
Yeah.
Like, this is yours. And if their program is better, then you should choose that program.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm doing this. And I was like, okay. And he followed it. He improved 2 feet in long jump, 3 feet in triple. Um, I
Yeah.
officially met him after senior year.
Yeah.
And like, he literally lived like the rock star life. Like, there's pictures of him
Yeah.
where like one of the meets, he was like jumping far, like, further than anybody else in that
Yeah.
area. And like, there's a picture where behind him, it's everyone that collapsed behind him to watch him jump.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
just him and just bodies of people
Yeah.
watching jump. And I'm like, bro, you're him. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool, And then he missed state by one spot.
Oh no.
Yeah. But he was like, I don't care. He's like, I would not be here. He's like, I was a
Right. Right.
JV athlete last year. Now I'm contending for state.
Right.
And
Right.
the sophomore, or I think a sophomore or junior at UC Santa Cruz.
Okay.
But yeah, like he really set the tone. And then
Yeah.
now I'm just bragging. I'm like, hop on a virtual team, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more stories like Ethan Fong, but
Right.
at the end of the day, like it's set. And then from there
Yeah.
came the Jump 101 program. So I
Okay.
was like,
Right.
okay, kids are in season. They're like, how do I improve now? Like, I have check meet tomorrow. I'm like, bro, I can't develop you,
Right.
in like
Right.
hours. But I was like, but can I?
Ooh.
Can I? And then I was like, I'm gonna put this virtual thing together. And now I was able to automate the virtual program. So
Yeah.
now if you already have a coach who's like, this is the program,
Yep.
great, keep your program,
Yep.
do this drill,
Yeah.
or here's how you do that drill better. And now I have less pushback from coaches who have their
Right.
philosophy,
Feel like you're
you
stepping
know.
over. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of coaches feel that, but it's like, if you add, like, honestly, if you add Leap Squad to your program, you're going to have athletes that are that much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I truly feel that. And I'm not trying to take anyone's athletes.
Right.
No one's
Right.
taking anybody.
Right.
It's just, if a kid is learning in class and they go to a tutor, teachers don't care. Learn this. You got to learn the math. You got to learn the
Right.
problems. Well, it's the same thing in these events. As long as you're not overtraining and putting your body through the ringer,
Yeah.
then you're good to go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it's progressed. And now I have athletes literally all over the world.
That's awesome.
And a lot of parents don't understand how it works. So like, how are you going to coach my kid from a computer?
Yeah.
I'm like, just watch, just watch. And,
Literally.
yeah, just literally just watch. And yeah. And I know that there are very few coaches that can give live feedback,
Mm.
And so I know that the more athletes I work with, I keep separating myself from the great coaches out there.
Yeah.
They're great coaches out there,
Yep.
but it's like, now I can do the same treatment literally in a whole different time zone, whole different space, from my couch,
That's
get you
amazing.
the same results. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's super valuable. Definitely. A lot of people out there need good coaching. So
yeah, especially field events.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll jump back into the college recruiting process. And you had mentioned that families are wasting their time. So I'm curious what you mean by that.
Okay. So I put out a post on Facebook, like, I don't know how many years ago. It was just like a random question. And I just asked, like, for the parents, I'm like, okay, if you had this tradition of how to make pizza, and you had this way of doing it that it's been passed down through the years and generations. And then your son or daughter says, "I want to change this traditional pizza and make it abstract." Like,
Yeah.
how would you feel? You know, and I got every answer, like literally equally every different answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from, no, this is the tradition. It's got to be passed down to, I don't care. Like, do what you want.
Yeah.
Like it's your perspective.
Yeah.
Like I put that there and I realized, okay, throughout the recruiting process, I don't know how that connects, but parents have a certain perception of how the recruiting process should work.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to have these documents signed by this day. You have to have this many applications filled out. And the counselors are telling the families, this is how you actually get into college, which is very true, 100%. It's the old school way. Fill out paperwork and you go. If you're an athlete, you hit a mark, you get seen, and you go, right?
Yeah.
Your coach on your team should be the one to vouch for you. None of that's the same anymore.
Okay.
At all. And so the parents, even if they played high level D1, they're pushing their kids through that same avenue of, this is how I did it, so this is how you should do it.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that's not how it's done anymore. The coaches are younger now as well, right? So like I'm an older coach now, but the younger ones are, say, 20, 24.
Yeah.
So their history is different. So the part that's being wasted is they're using an old tactic for a new style.
Sure.
And the new style, it's about brand awareness. It's about building an actual business.
Yeah.
As an athlete,
Interesting.
there's so many athletes that didn't get into certain schools because the schools are like, what value do you bring?
Right.
You got a 4.8 GPA. So what? Everyone has a 4.8 GPA at Stanford.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, oh, but you jump 40 feet as a triple jumper as a girl. That's good, but all D1 athletes have to jump 40 feet.
Yeah.
But athletes think that, oh, I jump 40 feet, I get a scholarship. No, like every applicant for our school jumps 40 feet.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I jump 40 feet and I have a nonprofit. And I jump 40 feet and I have an NIL deal pending when I get signed.
Right.
Like, then it becomes, okay, you're going to build our value of our school.
Right.
So
interesting.
A lot of families are wasting their time because they're going with these companies. I won't say any names, but they're going to companies that connect them to schools. But the problem is, what do you say?
Yeah.
Who do like you have the coach's phone number or the coach saw your video, but you're not proactively getting in front of the coaches. Like coaches are recruiting people.
Yeah.
They're not recruiting, like, I need you on the phone. Do I, like, think about this. If I'm a coach and I'm adopting you as an athlete, right?
Yeah.
That means I'm going to be hanging with you for the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
If you're a knucklehead and get on my last nerve, I don't want you on my team.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Also, as a coach, coaches deal with mental stability all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
If I'm a D1 coach, I probably ran track D1. I probably ran track at the pro level. I should not be having conversations about self-worth and value. I don't want to have that conversation. Like, I don't want to have to motivate you to work out because I didn't have to.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have these families that are wasting their time because they're waiting for the coach to promote them. They're waiting to hit a mark before they talk to schools. They're just waiting, or this is the worst situation. You have a kid who says, I want to go D1. Great. And you should shoot for it. Right. And they don't communicate to the school until they hit these D1 marks.
Yeah.
Well, in track, when do you want your best marks?
At the end of the season.
Yeah. And the end of track season happens to be the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Our state championship is after you've graduated.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you're going to wait to apply to these colleges or push for scholarships after, right? And on top of that, let's say you only get one D1 offer and it's in a place where you don't want to live, don't want to go.
Yeah.
But you're like, well, that's the only D1 offer I have, so I want to go there.
Yeah.
Think about this. So now you go to that school, everything works out, you do all 4 years, right?
Yeah.
You end up earning a scholarship at your 4th year.
Yeah.
Now you're in this place that you don't like. and you meet a guy or a girl or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you get internships, you build your network, all of a sudden you get a job in this place you don't even like, wasting time.
Yep.
If you don't vet your colleges the way that you are in a certain way, then you're missing out and you're putting yourself in a life situation that
Yeah.
you genuinely don't want.
That's interesting.
And it's expected for a 17, 18-year-old to make this decision. You have to have professional support. And if you don't, your son or daughter will be leaving far away, and they're
Mm.
not gone, but
But yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're going to be no longer just down the hall to kiss and love on.
Right.
They're out of the state and they're living in this space, and now it's just it's a bigger thing. It's
Yeah.
so big, and it's like, no, we can handle it. Okay, have fun, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and it's all going to work out, but it's just like you got to really be
Why
careful
not
of them.
take steps to make it better if you can?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
when you're talking about the support, what are some of the examples of the support that you're saying they need to look to find or create?
Number one's going to be like, I had an athlete who was going to sign last year to a school that he had never seen or been to.
Nice.
Like, he's like, yeah, and it was like, he's from California,
Yeah.
and it was a school back east. And
Okay.
I was like, you ever been in the snow, like
Right.
concrete buildings, and it's cold? And on top of that, like, if you go to these snowy states,
Yeah.
they run track predominantly indoor.
Oh,
Like,
right. Yeah.
Notre Dame, like, they're big indoor track schools.
Yep.
And outdoor, it's, they do well, but they're bigger indoor
Yep.
because they're shoveling snow for
Yeah.
the first half of the season to
Right.
open up the lane. So, I'm like, if you haven't been or you haven't visited the school during that time, or you don't know people that have experienced it, you're missing out, and,
Mm.
and you're going to have a clouded decision.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's a huge decision. So,
Mhm.
like, that's number one. They're making these decisions on um, colors
Yeah, I was
and
just gonna say.
names. Oh, we
Yeah.
get all this gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna need a jacket, like, in the spring, or it rains every single weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole different thing.
Right. Just
Um,
kind of helping them to see the whole picture before they make their decision.
yep.
Kind of what you're
And
saying.
there's a lot of money that can be wasted,
Mm.
because now
How
it's
so?
like, oh, I gotta go to the school. Okay, well, you're paying $40,000 more per year because you're out of state tuition.
Okay.
You know,
Even though you have a scholarship, it's just like still more money.
Yep.
Got
And
it.
then who's paying for that? Oh, well, we're taking a loan out. Okay, well, so you have a full offer at an NAIA or Division II, and you're choosing to go $80,000 in debt. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
it's tough. Or some things are, you can just go to that school that pays for all your tuition and then graduate as early as possible, then transfer into your grad assistant or grad school at another school.
Yeah.
Anthony Victor, perfect example. He's like, I'm going now to UCI as a grad student.
Yeah.
He's getting his school paid for.
Nice.
Like, he also had the COVID year, but
Sure.
still, like, you got to think of these things well in advance. Well in
Right.
advance.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
say starting the recruiting process, just the idea of like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hmm.
That's an eighth grade conversation.
Right. Well, and that's crazy though, because like no kids, very few kids, I'll say, are
Yeah.
thinking about that or care about that. They're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, no idea. Right.
Right.
But if it's, I don't know, I want to go to USC.
Yeah.
Great. So now we know our athlete wants to strive to be the best at the sports performance level.
Yeah.
Great. So we just start there, right?
Yeah.
Then sophomore year, maybe USC falls off. Like, it's not the one you want to go to.
Hmm.
Great. But they're in that space of now Division I.
Right.
So now let's keep that going. And then
Yeah.
also say, hey, well, there's a great Division II school here that actually has a great engineering program.
Mm.
And now they can compare the two and say, okay, I can be on TV, or I can actually, like, focus on this aspect. And it's
Yeah.
just those conversations.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's just kind of like helping them continually morph their goals to match really like where they are and what they really want instead of just being like, I want this because I should want this, and I'm not going to change anything because I feel like I should.
Yep. If you don't make decisions for yourself, life will. And
Ooh.
I really feel like, and
Here we
I really
go.
feel like when you don't make decisions and you're unsure,
Mm,
well, then a decision will be made for you.
yes.
Because so many times, like as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you know what? Rocco, one for example, Rocco, he's a freshman now at Long Beach Poly. Last year, he was like, I want to be like Blaze. I want to long jump and go to nationals. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And long jump just wasn't working out. It just
Yeah.
wasn't. He's
Yeah.
a basketball player, so he would run and like slow down like a layup. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's the opposite.
Right.
You
You got to
know,
keep going.
yeah. And I was like, okay, we got regionals coming up. Like, how do I get you to nationals? And I was like, all right, you know what? Let's practice triple jump. Let's practice high jump. He's like, high jump to no. I'm like, all right. And I said, okay, you know what? Let's try triple jump. He tried it, make nationals.
No way.
Now he's walking around with his chest out like,
Yeah.
hey, I made
I'm a
nationals. I was
triple
like, you
jumper.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, all that because I suggested something different. But
Yeah.
essentially, I told him, you have to do this
Yeah.
because of what may happen. And he failed in long jump.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just didn't work out,
Yeah.
but like I gave him that and it worked out, right? But what if it didn't work out?
Mm-hmm.
What if I had him do 80 events and those things didn't work out? Well, then it was my decision still.
Mm.
We need to be the one that like, hey, you know what? I'm open to all these things and make decisions.
Yeah.
So when you make decisions, opportunities come faster. I really do feel that.
Yeah. I think that big takeaway was just that, like, if you don't make decisions for yourself, life will make the decision for you. I think that kind of encapsulates everything that you were saying with like the recruiting process and everything. Is just like you need to be intentional about it and think through the decisions instead of just kind of like letting them happen.
Yeah. So many athletes, like I asked them when they first joined my virtual team or in person, I'm like, okay, what do you want? They're like, oh man, just to get better, try my best. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, political answer, appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you actually want? And a lot of
Mm.
them don't know.
Right. A
I'm
lot
like,
of them
okay,
don't
great.
know.
Yeah. I'm like, great. Now we know where we are. We have
Mm-hmm.
no idea where you are. Great. Start there. First thing, do you want to compete? Yes. Okay. Pro, overseas. Do you want to just get on the team? Just on the team is fine. Perfect. We'll start there. Because it
Yeah.
gets you on a team. Now it might be, oh, you know what? I'm at this big name school. I really need to get better. Great. Next thing. Let's keep going. It's just start somewhere.
That's so interesting. Like, so I've had this experience all my life, even when I was young. When people ask young people, middle school, high school, like, what do you want? Almost always the answer is, I don't know, or
Mhm.
some form of that. And I think when you were just saying that there, that a light bulb just went off of like, it's probably because they don't actually know and they haven't been able to or been guided, given a framework for how to think about big decisions, and so it's interesting to me like how effective and maybe we need to change our approach, not do the traditional just like what do you want to do, but change the approach and actually handhold them through the process of like what you just said. Okay, let's start from the basics. What do you want? I don't know. Okay, we are at I don't know. Let's take the next step. I'll list out the options, and from those options you pick what you want and then move each level beyond that for every decision. Like that seems to be the way that you'll actually get a response out of them. And it's like they don't have to think abstractly or broad because you've as the parent or coach with experience narrowed the list of options down to something that they can consume and understand.
100%.
Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think we just solved all the recruiting problems for the parents out there. Cool.
Yeah.
And anything else on that? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next bullet point here.
Um, yeah, I think, I look at where the families fail. And I use fail like lightheartedly. I'm not saying like
Right.
you're failing the process,
Yeah.
but I think it's more of like they don't understand how heavy this decision is. And because of that, they don't put the investment into it. Like
Yeah.
you have to hire a professional just to
Interesting.
ask questions to. You have to visit all the schools.
Yeah.
You have to apply to every single school available.
Yeah.
Like so many times, this example I use all the time, but like there's families say like, I want my baby close because I love my son or daughter. And
Yeah.
it's like, I get it 100%, 100%. Because like I've seen a parent athlete of mine, athlete of a parent, where they didn't run track for us, but it was just one of their kids.
Yeah.
And they moved across the country to a school and he was crying and he was like, my baby's leaving me. And I was like trying to empathize. I'm like, okay, what is he really saying?
Yeah.
And then fast forward 5 years later, she got married to a guy that lives out there. And so she literally left at 18 and never came back home.
Whoa.
And I was like, bro, like parenting is like a whole different level,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I now understand what he meant by that.
Mm,
So it's like, you've got to think down the line,
right.
not saying worst case scenario. I'm just saying,
But you have to consider a worst case scenario.
correct.
Yeah.
And so they say, I want my son or daughter to stay local. And then the son or daughter says, I want to be Division I athlete. Okay, great. So now you went from 1,300 plus schools
Yeah. Yeah.
to 7,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
right? And of those 7, for example, Cal Berkeley,
Yeah.
I sent 4 athletes there last year.
Wow.
They had 10 jumper freshmen this year.
Man.
If you want to go to Cal Berkeley, you can go, but you're not going to be on scholarship.
Yeah.
I literally sent 3 athletes there to run track.
Yeah.
They don't need you. So like that is a very harsh, because there are some kids that have
Sure.
banners in their rooms like Cal Berkeley track and field. It's the school doesn't need you,
Mm,
So I'm not saying don't go there. What I'm just saying is you're going to have to beat out someone.
yeah.
So 50 feet is great, but now you got to jump 54 because you got to earn
Yeah.
money or
Right.
monetize yourself.
Well, I was gonna say, or go
Yeah.
back to what you were saying.
Yeah,
Provide value in a different way.
correct.
Mm,
And again, that's not a part of the traditional recruiting process.
yeah.
you know so it's like you have to have the professional guidance. There are resources out there. The difference between my college recruit 101 program and others is I know the coaches. I either have athletes at the schools you're looking to go to, or I have had athletes there, or I personally know the coach.
Mm,
Like I have
yeah.
conversations with college coaches. I even have coaches that got jobs at these big name schools that call me like, hey, I'm here now, like, what's up,
Right.
plug me.
Yeah.
you
Like
know
JB. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like these other programs don't have those connections.
Right.
They just say, hey, coach, here's an athlete that's on our platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't connect the person
Right.
back to
Yep.
that. Like, do I want to hang out with you? I need you on the phone
Yep.
because like maybe you're a weirdo or the coach is a weirdo.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You don't want to go to that school and hang out with the weirdo for the next 4 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Or the coach may just not know what he or she is doing.
Right.
I've had phone calls with that. It's a lot.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like dating. It sounds like like you'd rather like, so you see the girl that you like or the boy that you like, and it's safer to hang out with them in a group and do a little bit of recon before like committing to a relationship, finding out they're crazy, and then being like,
Yep. What's that one thing you gonna F around and find out? Like,
yeah, yeah,
like
exactly.
that's exactly what it is. And
Yeah.
like I always use that analogy, like you're right, with like dating. You just don't want to just jump on
Mhm,
to the lap of someone and say like this is it. It's
mhm.
like you want to see how they are in certain dynamics. And we
Yeah.
all know like we have friends in certain areas too. We have certain friends we party with, certain friends that we can speak, intellectually
Mm,
to and like have deep conversations. Like,
yeah.
and we find someone that can do all of them. Well, then the other friends that were just kind of one-sided, like we kind of like move them out the way and just enjoy this group.
Right.
Or we just grow as a person. And now we're like, all these friends we had, we're on a different level now.
Mm,
Like it's a whole thing. It's like, so do you have a school that you can actually grow with?
yeah,
Like
that's good.
track will end. It'll end,
Yes. Yep.
So it's like, is your network gonna help you grow? Like, it's just so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And with my program specifically, it's like all of these other things of like ideas, like what do you email a coach? Like, what do you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, here are my stats. I jumped this far. Here are my awards. I was 17-time, gold medalist. And it's like coaches
Right.
don't care. It's like, how do you respond to you're in last place if we need you to score 1 point at conference? Coaches are asking that, you
Dude,
know?
that's so good.
Yeah,
Like I think like in general too, like these are just great principles for how to live life, which is what you were saying of like that's what you want to be anyway because track ends and so you got to move on and like you have to be able to have you have to have frameworks for how to handle all kinds of situations in life. And I think if you take it back and go so simply, like you were saying, is like be able to think out of the box and change from a traditional path and like basically think creatively and yeah.
yeah. I
Interesting.
want to add this piece in. Okay,
Hmm.
so reflecting, obviously the last 10 years, I'm reflecting on Leap Squad. I'm like, okay, like what needs to change? What else can I shoot for? And I'm like, I have pilots, doctors, um, like that came out of the program. Now, of course, Leap Squad didn't make that, right? But it was just they were part of the program, and those minded people came out of the program.
Yeah.
Whether it was enhanced or they already had it,
Right.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like I can now brag and say, like, Ryan Finney's a pilot. Like, that's
Yeah.
cool. Paula
Yeah.
Pedrani is literally a doctor. Athletes that are dentists, like Jasmine Moss. Like,
Right.
I'm like, they're just living these lives that they wrote down on their goals junior year in high school,
That's
you
awesome.
know?
Yeah.
And so I have a new athlete, Ethan. He literally, I said, you got to write goals each week. I need to have your goals. And he's like, okay. And he hand wrote a full page. And it was like, I had to like sound out words he was using. And I was like, oh my goodness, this kid's 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard you be president. And he was like, yep. And I was just like, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like he's 11 years old, says only president. And I'm
Yeah.
like, perfect. So then I got to figure out what to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
what to challenge you with
Yep.
to have you start to think even more outside the box.
That's so good.
So I get to grow as a person now. So the fact that he came and said, I'll be president,
Yeah.
I now get to figure out what I'm doing as a person and a coach to challenge him.
That is what makes you such a good coach in general. Is like you don't limit anybody's goals. As soon as somebody has a goal that's bigger than or abnormal, you say, I need to step up to be able to help them reach there. You don't say, no, you can't do that, or like that's
Yeah.
gonna be too hard. So good on you for that.
Thank you. So I get to read some more books.
Yeah, exactly. How to be president. Dude, okay.
Yeah.
If that kid becomes president, that would be the all-time thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That would be, yeah, like I'll probably make a commercial at that point, but
Yeah, I was
like, yeah,
just gonna say.
don't leave before I become president. That's how you
Right.
do it.
That's hilarious. All right, sweet. Any last little comments there? Otherwise, I think we should bump to the next one.
um, no, that's pretty much it. Just
Yeah.
like take it seriously.
Mm.
And just have fun, enjoy the process,
Yeah.
and just make sure you have professional guidance of any sort.
Yep.
Just have some type of guidance.
Have professional guidance, or it sounds like be willing to put in the work to basically learn, gain the experience of a professional, which seems obvious which one would be more convenient, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so cool. All right. So then the next thing you had talked about was confidence and how to manage it for athletes. I feel like we talked about that a little bit, but is there anything you want to add to that or any bigger points from that?
Um, I mean, just to summarize, I guess it's more of just like coaches be the best you can be
Hmm.
because the athletes need you. The
Oh,
athletes
yeah.
need a confident coach.
Ooh, interesting. So
Um,
confidence in the coaches from the
it's
coach's
the
point of view.
coaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what I'm seeing now is the elite coaches at the youth level produce like monsters on the
Yeah.
track,
Yeah.
right? And like think about this, right? Kenny Roseman, right? I'm doing a camp with him 2 weeks from now in
The
Dallas.
Texas one. Yeah.
Yeah. And he coached Jasmine Moore.
Hmm.
And, he coached her through her formative years. So, like he got her from who she,
Yeah.
a kid, to Jasmine Moore that we know.
Right.
And then she just kept that ball rolling and every other coach has enhanced that, right?
Right. Right.
And so I'm pretty sure she was drafted more before, but you know, like those years that she was growing,
Yeah.
like he knows what he's doing.
Mm.
And so now she's looking for a college coach that has to know what he or she is doing,
Right.
which means the coach, like, don't waste our time in the recruiting process if you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
because I'm going to need you to get me from where I am to where I'm going,
Right. Right.
which falls back on the coach, which falls back on the athletes to pick the right
Right.
coaches.
Right.
But then it's also, coach, know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because if not, you're wasting the years of these kids' lives.
Right. Right.
You're wasting their time. If you know you're going to leave next year, plant the
Oh,
seed.
right.
Don't recruit the kid and have them come and you leave.
Right.
I get it. You can't control everything.
Sure.
Just like plant the seed. If
Yeah.
your family's back in this state and you're just in this state working for now, I'm pretty sure you want to be with your family.
Yeah.
You know, just let the kid know, like, hey, you know, just, I don't know. I'm not in that position, so I don't know how I would
But
do it.
it's more, it's a case by case basis. Like, if just
Yeah.
let your subconscious and your own self conviction like guide that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, not to go too far off on a tangent, but like coaches, the better you are as a person, the more self reflection you have, the self
Mhm.
work that you do, whatever traumas that you may have gone through in your life, because we all
Yeah.
have,
Right.
address those. Because, like, if I grew up in a household that yelling was normal,
Yeah.
and I recruit an athlete that never yelled in his or her family,
Yeah.
and I'm yelling because that's what I know,
Right.
the kid's going to have a traumatic experience because of you.
Right. Oof.
So every single year that I decided I want to invest in my own, like, self,
Hmm.
I've literally had the best years as a coach.
Yeah.
So every
Yeah.
year I'm like, okay, how can I grow as a person? How can
Dude.
I be in the best shape I can be in? I don't want to be out of shape and tell the athlete, work hard or else. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, I won't go extreme with my comments, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
oh, like if I have a high tolerance of willpower and I'm preaching that, the kid's going to say, I can hear it
Right.
and I
And I
can
can
see
see
it,
it. Yeah.
you know?
That's good. That's spot
So
on.
coaches, be the best you, and don't take no for an answer. Don't show up late eating bag of chips, you know, and expect them to be on time and run to
Right.
practice.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do it. And I'm not saying I don't do that. I'll have a bag of chips and I'll show up late,
Right.
you
Right.
know, and I'm like, and I tell them, hey, I broke our agreement.
Mm.
Like, I'm not holding myself to that standard. I'm
Oh.
going to do my changes. And
Right.
so I say that to them, and they're
Yeah.
like, you know what? And they respect it.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. No, yeah, I think that's really good. So basically, like, work on yourself, and that should translate into your coaching and your athletes too. They'll kind of reflect your confidence.
Yep.
That makes a ton of sense. All right. So the next thing, this one is interesting to me. I'm very curious to hear your position on this. So you said international athletes taking over the NCAA championships. What's that
Yeah.
about?
Okay. So I'm a fan of, obviously, you know, just track and field.
Yep.
And I watch athletes. Like, I
Hmm.
watch them, and I watch them from the youth age. I watch them through the college years. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, okay, what do I see? What trend do I see happening right now with college track?
Yeah.
And I said, obviously, it's failing when it comes to the sport, like, from
For
uh,
promotion or
promotion,
yeah.
engagement,
Yep.
audience retention. Like, it's not doing well.
Sure.
That's why at the pro level, they're trying to make it more presentable,
Yeah. Yeah.
shorter. I'm like, okay. Then I said, okay, who's coaching the college athletes in the States? And I'm like, it's grad assistants,
Okay.
mostly for the field events.
Yeah.
There are, again, I'm not trying to bash anyone. There are a lot of
Right. Right.
great
Right.
coaches out
Just
there, you know.
observing.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I said, okay, so now it's harder to make a team now, because some schools have, like, ridiculous standards, and they
Mhm.
want you to come into college with national marks from your senior year.
Oh, sure.
So it's like,
To prove
to
that you
get
can contribute.
correct. So it's like, okay, that's a challenge. And then I'm like, okay, well, if you're not in the top 10%, then it's hard for you to get these scholarships because you can't perform at the high level.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, who's winning these championships? and I'm seeing a bunch of athletes that weren't even born here. And then they get interviewed. I'm like, you don't sound like you're from here. And then I watched the World Championships. I'm like, you're not even wearing our jersey.
Interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so what's different? What's happening? And I'm realizing, okay, these athletes are from other countries coming here because we can offer them something, a quality of life that they
Yep.
may not have at wherever they live now.
Yeah.
Right. And they come here and they're just off the chart good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so the colleges are investing in international students.
Yep.
International students are winning,
Yep.
which then brings promotion. So then the kids here go to those schools to fund the international students coming over.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, well, what does that at the root of it mean? It means that we're failing. I'm watching
Oh, you mean failing in the States to develop athletes to that level so that we don't even need to recruit from outside?
correct.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
You
interesting.
know, so yeah, I'm watching other countries like strive to get to America for the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So they train harder.
Yeah.
They develop because I mean Jamaicans right now are really killing it. Like they're
Yes.
killing it.
Yeah.
USA right now, we're doing great in the sprints,
Yeah.
jumps. We
Yeah.
have talent. We have so much
Right.
talent,
Right.
you know. But it's like I don't know Donald Scott personally,
Yeah.
and he's killing it right now.
Yeah.
And like he's got a family, and I'm like,
Yeah.
he's doing all this stuff. And I'm like, man, like he works so hard,
Yeah.
and I know the struggle he's going through. Like Omar Craddock is going through his journey. And
Yeah.
like they work so hard. Will Clay, same thing, like going
Yep.
through their journeys, and it's such a challenge. And it's like there's no farm system, there's no development, there's no
Mm.
like, what do you do after college? You
Right.
know, it's like you're great and you go to college and you have to spend 4 years doing all these events.
Yep.
Like I understand the process of with Mondo. Like
Yeah.
I was able to because Dominique was being recruited at the same time Mondo was, so she was on the visit with him at LSU,
Okay.
and she was like his family. She's like he's only going to LSU because it's a part of his blood. Like the
Oh, okay.
family, all his parents went to LSU. Like he has
Sure.
to go to LSU, perform well, and he's going to go pro right after that. Like
Yeah.
they knew that already,
Yeah.
and so they didn't mess anything up. They're like, we're gonna just let you do your thing, and you're gonna go,
Yeah.
And so what it did was made LSU that much better
Right.
because they now have Mondo. So now Paul Balcher's like, I want to go train with him. It's just bringing all this in. It's like this whole social thing,
Yep. Yep.
So like I don't really have an answer, other than like I'm
Yeah.
just witnessing all these things that are happening, and I'm like, it all points back to our system that we have
Yeah.
isn't consistent. It's more of like, let's get 1,000 athletes, pump out 5,
Yeah.
and then wipe that clean the next 1,000. And we
Yeah.
keep pushing out 5. And it's like, yeah, but the other number is like falling off the map, and
Yeah.
we're losing talent. And women's triple jump isn't as dominant as it can be. We have
Right.
dominant jumpers,
Right.
but it's so hard to get to the next level
Mm.
because of just the way that the system is working. We don't have a U23 team. We
Right.
don't really
Yeah.
push that. Well, why not? Because we don't have the developmental side of it.
Yeah.
It's college, and if it doesn't work out, you can transfer once. If that doesn't work out, see you later.
Yeah.
It's
That's
it's tough.
It's interesting to, I mean, like, I'm sure some part of it is like the popularity of other sports takes a lot of the upper level talent, I guess, maybe to these other sports, football, baseball, basketball, whatever. But that's super interesting because like we are a huge country, and you would think that there would be a lot more like talent that comes out of it, but maybe just because it's not developed at the early age like it is maybe in these other countries.
Like I know, like there are women that can jump 6'4" in high school,
Yeah.
but they're not on the track team because they're busy with volleyball, because
Oh,
they're a
right.
6 foot girl. And they're like, we need you in volleyball. And the
Yeah.
parents are like, yeah, let's go. So they're playing volleyball,
Right.
and
Because
then
there's money there, right? Because like that
correct.
seems to be like the ultimate like decision maker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's no answer to that. It's just more of a conversation,
Right. It really
and
is. Yeah.
just observations that I see. But, so far things are pointing in the direction of track and field. Okay, I got to add this in because Ethan Fong made it to U20 nationals.
Okay.
So did Kimani, but he was hurt. So he was there, but he tried, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this U20 nationals. I'm looking around Tracktown USA, and it's like less than half full, the
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm like, where is everybody?
Right.
Because I competed at Oregon. Like I
Yeah.
competed there for a few meets and things like that. And I'm just like, where is everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, Tracktown, it was big because of the baby boomers. Well, the baby boomers are older now to where
Yeah.
like they can't just get in out the house all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so that's one thing, right? And the stadium holds about 13, 14,000
Okay.
at the and so it was about half full attendance. And they posted this, they had 27,000 people that showed up
Yeah.
over the 4-day span.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not good,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I get it. Nike supports USATF. Nike built this very expensive stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's very beautiful. The issue is flying into Eugene is very hard to do because it's a small airport. When we had USA Nationals there,
Interesting.
super
Right.
hard,
Yeah.
right? They had dorms for the families. Like, however, it was just like I would have paid 3 times the amount that I paid for Youth Nationals versus USA Nationals.
Wow.
3 times the amount because they bump up the price because people typically fly in there for track.
Yep.
However, when you're trying to watch a kid compete for $10,
Right.
like a $500 plane ticket,
Yep.
and then you're bringing the siblings, the parents, the uncles, like they're
Right.
coming. It's expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm on a tangent, but
No, no,
basically,
this is good.
like
Yeah.
it's the environment wasn't really there for the youth. The youth, I want to say, it was amazing.
Okay.
Like it was a great experience for the kids. They all loved it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the pro level, like nobody was there. And
Yeah.
I really do feel like, as much as it is track town, I feel like we got to find states that will pack the stadium
That's
and
interesting.
give that environment.
Right.
It's tough to you're like literally watching athletes jump 56 feet, 57 feet,
Yeah.
and just one side of the stadium, the other side is empty.
Yeah.
It's like it shouldn't be that way for national championships.
Man.
Yeah.
My brain always wants to try to solve these problems, and so like that would be like another like 6 hours of deliberating, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got to just be cool with that, letting it go, and then I mean, somebody eventually has to make something happen, and the
Yeah.
conversation has to start somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah.
interesting, good thoughts. All right, so next one, probably the last one, really, is what is missing in the jumps world? You feel like there's something missing?
I think we kind of covered it just with like students of the sport.
Okay.
Like I know you're a complete student of the sport. Like you have ideas and then you kind of like test them out,
Yeah.
like a scientist,
Right.
you try and say, okay, this is working, this isn't. I just really feel like just missing that track and field is a mental game,
Hmm.
and having more psychological support. Like I talk to athletes all the time, and my virtual team also includes a weekly conversation to like, yeah, you're getting better, but like your mind has to be able to be ready for what's coming.
Hmm.
Like Ethan Fong literally went from 43 to 48 feet last year.
That's awesome.
And he's in Northern California. So like
Yeah.
we just talked, and like I got to know about him personally. Like he's an artist. He's just like he's a great person,
Yeah.
and it's like, but he also has like he had to lose. He lost at nationals. He lost at our winter championships.
Yeah.
But it's like I needed him to lose. But he lost because I had him at short approach. Like he
Okay.
could have
Right.
won from full approach, but it's like, but I put him in these environments to have him have this internal conversation of like, okay, what's actually happening?
Hmm.
and he was able to talk it through, be vulnerable, you know. And so it takes so much time. Like we probably talked like hours, you know, compared to training. And I don't know if coaches can do that at the high school level, because you might have 100 students,
Yeah.
athletes on the team,
Hmm.
and, you know, 3 coaches. So it's what's missing is the mental support. And, you know, to be honest, like this is a touchy subject, but like suicide is like real, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yes.
track and field, if you don't have anyone to talk to
Mm.
about, you know, a loss, or like I
Yeah.
tried my best and I didn't
Right.
win, you know, it's like you got to talk to someone about that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and put all these things in perspectives. And a lot of schools now are creating resources for mental support,
Mm.
you know, but it it's tough. And the kids who went through COVID had an experience that
Right.
we don't know. Like we
Right.
don't,
Yeah.
we
We
were out
can't.
of school,
Yeah.
you know. So I just feel like what's missing is the mental support for the
Mm.
kids. And I really feel like my virtual team is a character development, actually not just virtual, but both. It's
Yeah.
a character development program.
Yeah.
And the results that we get from our program is a reflection of their confidence levels,
Man. th-
like
That's absolutely
100%.
true. Yeah. No,
So I
that's
think we,
good.
we got to get away from like results, tangible results driven, to
Hmm.
like, what did this loss or what did this win do for you?
Yeah.
Like that question means so much. Or I want to go D1. Okay, great. Why? Like, what's the reason why?
Yeah.
What does that do for you? What do you need out of the experience? And maybe it's they didn't have male leadership.
Hmm.
Okay, so you need a male coach. Got it. So
Yeah.
this school has great coaching staff,
Yeah.
but they're going to push you to be at your best. Are you ready for that? Well,
Yeah.
if you're not mentally stable, then that push may not be the best push that you need. You need someone to hold your hand and walk you through it.
Right.
Well, the NAI school, which has 15 on the roster,
Right.
that coach is going to like love on you the way that you need it.
Yeah.
That is actually the better school for you.
That's interesting. And it also kind of goes back to what we are saying about like the coaches being self-aware and having the self-awareness, because and changing the standard or the expectation of coaches. Because like when I think of like the high school football coaches around here, like how much time they spend outside of practice, watching film, studying film, prepping plays, and all that stuff, and even spending time with the athletes to work through the different schemes and things. Like with track, I think the standard or the tradition is like you come to practice, we do our stuff, and then we leave. But like you said, like kids need to talk about losses and failures or whatever. I mean, especially the events like high jump and pole vault where you fail every single meet. Like that's how the meet your event ends. Like so that's interesting. So maybe changing the mindset over of coaching this sport, of being like, okay, there needs to be extra time set aside for taking care of our athletes' mental health and other things.
Yeah, it needs to be a part of the program.
Yeah.
I remember weights, study hall, practice, travel.
Right. Yeah.
Not having office hours. It needs to be, you're spending this time where we're talking, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of Coach Prime. I've been really watching a lot of his stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And like he's old school. Like old school, like when it comes to like figure it out, don't
Hmm.
talk to me, make it
Mm.
happen. But then when that's done, what I'm seeing, I'm from the outside, but what I'm seeing is
Yeah.
he then says, okay, what did you learn during that process?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you made a great play because you work your butt off. Like
Yeah.
those little side comments change the whole thing.
Yeah.
To my athletes, like, hey, you did a great job. Like, yeah, well, isn't that? I'm like, yeah, but you did it. I gave you a
Mm.
plan and you did it.
Right.
You wrote these goals down. I followed your goals. You said you wanted to achieve these things. You did this. You wrote
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Or if you lost, hey, what needs to change? Like what gets to happen here? Like
Yeah.
all those things. Like I take responsibility, even like for like if athletes have a hamstring injury, I think last year I think we had 2 or 3, which was
Mhm.
like the most ever,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. And I talked to the athletes. One athlete was literally doing like a whole different training program.
yep,
And I was like, okay, got it. How do we fix that? You know, what would you do differently?
yep,
Another athlete, it just like it all came down to overtraining,
yeah,
you know. And I wasn't in the loop of what was going on,
sure,
you know. So now it's like, okay, I need to be a better coach so that they feel safe to talk to me
yeah,
about what's going on,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, I really feel like the mental support, if you have on a basketball roster 15 players, 5 coaches, well, we need to have so many resources for mental
mhm,
release for athletes per team.
yeah,
You know, having one on just on the school for all sports is not going to help unless you create a group therapy
right,
type of program.
yeah,
But I do feel like, you know, yes, it's missing in track because it's more of an individual sport.
right,
And if you lose, like you lost because you lost, you
right,
know,
because you
like
didn't measure up or yeah,
correct. And I think the other piece is like when someone's better than you, like they're physically better than you. Like there's no way to
right,
beat them.
right,
You know what I mean? It's like there's like a humbling piece because
mm,
you got these kids who win state and go to UCLA and they get there, but they won their state, say in Connecticut,
yeah,
and they get here and they're the worst athlete on the team.
yeah,
Like that takes a hit.
yeah,
Also realizing I'm not going to go pro.
mm,
Like stress.
oh,
What
sure,
do I do now at 21 years old
yeah,
and I don't have sports?
mm,
Like
yep,
transition out of sports is a key. Dwayne Wade did it.
yeah,
He did. He's like, I knew I was going to be retiring. I spent this year preparing myself for what my life would look like.
right, a
You
year
know?
preparing, like,
Yeah.
that's yeah,
Like I know LeBron James, like there's a flaw that's helping him perform. His flaw is he's been playing basketball at the highest level since like 18, basically.
yeah, yeah,
So like he doesn't have a life outside of basketball. So I think the reason why he works so hard is because he doesn't have a life outside of basketball.
interesting,
Like
I'd
I
be
don't think he's
curious,
ever spent a month in the same place without traveling for work. So
yeah,
like obviously it's great for the viewers, you
yeah,
know, for ticket sales and all these things, but it's like that's something that I think will be interesting to watch and
to
to
see
see
him
how that.
transition,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like as humans, I mean, we definitely we thrive when we have a purpose or a goal. And so yeah, when physically his body tells him he's done, it'll be interesting to see what he tries to take on as his purpose and goal.
yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
mental health.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's really push that. And the old school way of coaching um, is not what works for every athlete.
Yeah.
And if you have 5 different um, genres of track, you know, throwers have a different mentality than sprinters. And
Yeah.
it's just different. And if you know, you talk to them, the coaching is different.
Hmm.
And I think having an emotional release checkpoint for athletes consistently is going to
Hmm.
be what the sport needs.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun. It seems like there's a lot more talking conversations happening around track and field and how to make it better. So hopefully some of that turns into action and improvement for the sport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather see failures and like just the wrong things
Yes.
possible than
Yes.
than stagnation. That's a
Right.
word.
Like even with the Diamond League, they had the final three jumps. Like
Yeah.
I hated that, but I really respected that they tried something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't make any sense from how you win and stuff, but it was I appreciated the effort of like seeing like, okay, well, how could we make this more interesting? So
Yep.
never fault
Even
somebody for trying.
exactly. And I'm thinking now, like final three, that thing kind of sucks because like you can win it even though you were like
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
But it's like, why not just have a total distance competition?
Oh yeah. Oh that
You know?
okay. Oh that has got me on a whole nother. Yeah. Okay. I plotted out the qualification mark for worlds and Olympics for the last like 20 years.
Mm.
And then what mark it took to get in and what mark it took to make the final. So like from the 36 or
Oh wow.
however many to make the final. And then like what it took to make the top 8, so getting those final 3 jumps in the final. And then what the like top 3 marks or like placings were. And what just blew my mind first off, and again, this is probably me just not being in the conversation, understanding all the factors, but like when they're increasing the entry standard for worlds and then adding this world ranking system in to some, I don't even really know the purpose, so maybe I shouldn't
Yeah.
even be talking about this. But like then when I look at the world championship results, like only 3 to 4 people at the meet at the world championship or Olympics jump a mark that is above that entry standard. Everybody else is hardly jumping 8 meters, and like 8 meters is the minimum. Like that's what it takes to make the final, and then usually that's what it makes to make the top 8. And I'm like, okay, how are these guys going 8:25, 8:30 during the season, and then like barely scraping into the final? And I just don't understand it. But I'm not a pro, and I also don't understand the system. So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
It's weird how it works. And I just don't sometimes like I see why they're upping the standard. It's because they don't want like Allison Felix
mhm.
lost, I believe it was 2008, lost in the 200. She didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then they are the 100, whatever it was, one of the
Okay.
two. And then they said, "Oh, there was a timing issue." I'm like, "No, she lost." You know, the other girl had it just the perfect race. Um, and they decided to have a race off. And then they never did it because the other girl just said, "I'd rather just whatever, just I don't want to go."
Okay.
Well, I think there's a documentary or there's something
Yeah.
that like Allison Felix needed to go to the Olympics because of ticket sales, and the track and field was going to make more money.
Yeah.
So then they then paid the other girl not to go, and it was a
Wow.
good amount. So the girl was like, "That's fine,"
Yeah.
you know, which I think is the better decision. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like just
for
take the money,
for the sport, yeah. Oh, you mean for that girl?
but yeah, take yeah, because I mean, odds are the amount of money that she got paid, if this is all allegedly, right?
Right,
The
right.
amount that she got paid um, would set her up and for life, you know.
Interesting. Okay, so you're
Um,
thinking like millions or like
yeah,
hundreds
yeah,
of thousands?
easy.
Okay.
Yeah, because think about
Yeah.
how much money athletes in the industry makes
Right.
for the Olympics. It's like buku
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
you know, and just the amount of money for television outlets and all these ways to make
Yeah.
money. So yeah, 100%. But but I think the reason why the standards is going up is because they're like, we can't get the random Joe Schmo guy into this meet. We need to get the person that's supposed to be here,
Well,
that we
that's
have
it's
money
not
going to.
working though. Like
No.
like I think mostly because of the world ranking. So like, you have like 12 people that hit the mark.
Mm-hmm.
So that number is going to go down, and then the way they're deciding to fill the rest of the spots is through some super like I don't like the word unfair because it sounds very like entitled and like whatever, but like it doesn't make any sense how somebody from this random country who jumped 796 is at the meet, and then somebody from another country who jumped consistently over 8 meters, 8:10, 8:15, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't hit the entry standard isn't at that meet. Like how how does how does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if we're talking like trying to get the people who should be there, because I know like the world rankings might erase the issue of like people putting fake marks at a meet or something, and so like the whole season they're jumping 780, 790, and then they hit a
Yeah.
827, and it's like okay, like that seems a little off. Like if they're
Yeah.
trying to avoid that, then just take the top 5 marks of your season instead of like like they give you the highest score from your top 5 meets or whatever, but like
Yeah.
you could win a national meet in, I don't know, Czechoslovakia. I'm not bashing
Yeah.
anybody, but I don't know, and get way more points than somebody and jump 790 and get way more points than somebody who jumped 830 but got fourth at their national meet. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No sense. And that's why I feel like who's making these rules up, and you can tell that it's not a track guy or a track
It's what
woman,
it seems like, but
you know?
or just maybe not a field event person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Although the world rankings, because I saw an article on this, I think it's Let's Run was the website, and they pointed out that Femke Bol, who is an insane athlete, was
Hmm.
ranked higher than Sydney McLaughlin in the world rankings, and like because Sydney ran less races, and so she didn't have as many like points or whatever to score,
Yeah.
and it's like that doesn't add up. Again, Femke Bol, amazing athlete, top in the world history of all time. But Sydney McLaughlin is running, ridiculous times, and
Hmm.
that just, I don't know.
I think I think they're using a analytic from all pro sports, which is the amount of times you're seen or competing,
Yeah, but
right? And so like that, so for example, right? Hopefully somebody watching this can like double check.
yeah,
But the reason why baseball players get paid more per year is because they play more games per year.
okay,
Then you have basketball, then you have track, then you
yeah,
have football, right?
hmm,
And you have track. And so if you do the math, I think it maths out to where it comes down to how many times were you able to generate money to pay yourself back?
okay.
I
So
think,
the
yeah, I think that comes down. So the other girl was able to bring more value for the sport
yeah,
into
that's
that.
fine as long as that's what they call it. You know what I mean? But it sounds
Yeah.
like they're ranked in their ability, but that's not like
Yeah.
like especially like because track is so objective. It's like you ran 10:9, you're faster than someone who ran 11:0 or 9:9 and 10 flat. Like
Hmm.
there's no question about who's better or who, performed better, but in the world rankings and determining who goes to the bigger meets or whatever like that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a well, actually I do have a good decision. I think you should take the top 5 marks, and then, to make it fair across the countries or whatever, keep the limit of 3, 3 athletes from your country going.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyway, I might just cut this whole section out. This is
Yeah.
just ranting.
No, I think it's good because I think like these conversations are like huge because I really do feel that the people who make these decisions watch these things. Like
Maybe, yeah.
they you know, yeah. Because I mean, I feel like I've been making so many comments about the Nike triple jump spikes and how they suck, and like every 3 to 4 years they change
They
and they
change it.
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're still not as good. They like the design's been better. The
Yeah.
triple jump spikes have done better, but they're too squishy. Like they
Oh, okay.
absorb more. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of ankle rolls.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have an
Yeah.
athlete that last year he jumped and he landed at Arcadia and just the whole shoe just compressed and he rolled his ankle and it sprained his knee.
Yeah, yeah.
So, this year I said, get out of the Nikes, get out of them.
Right, yeah.
Um, yeah. And then a lot of kids were saying that they felt the spikes, the heel bottom out because it
Interesting.
was too squishy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
Dami, before the shoes came out, Dami was at Oregon and she was like, yeah, we got some new spikes. He showed me them.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, they're kind of squishy. But
Yeah.
like she was trying to articulate that it was bottoming out.
Yeah.
And I think that's an issue with the spikes. But everyone likes them. And the long jump spikes, people love them. But the air bubble pops. It's
Dude,
like imagine being at a meet and they pop.
yeah.
Like,
Like what do you do now?
yeah, borrow someone's spikes who's trying to beat you. Like,
Right.
you know.
It was
So
interesting. So a couple years ago I ordered one of the Nike jump spikes and then one of the Adidas ones. And the Nike ones, like they just did not fit my foot. Like they felt
Mm,
really weird, like super narrow at the toe and everything. And I was like,
mm.
does anybody like how this fits? So yeah. And then I talked to a bunch of people who had ordered it and they had a similar experience, but I'm like, who designed this initially? Or like maybe it was just designed around one person's foot. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. How
Oh,
like I guess the foot. Oh yeah, my
there we
internet
go.
sensitive.
I got you. You cut out for a second, but you're back. Hello, hello.
I'm here. You hear me?
Oh, there we go. Now I hear you. It's like you come back in for like a second and then I get excited and
Yeah.
then it freezes again.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try to wrap this up then. So yeah, so looking ahead, looking forward next year or two or three. What's next for you? What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about taking our elite athletes to the Olympics, getting them to their goals.
Let's go.
And to be honest, it's just the compilation of the Jump 101 program for in-season track jumpers, the virtual team for athletes all over, the in-person team to like scale basically. Because I really feel like the program's kind of like complete. It's just molding to the next year.
Yeah.
But anyone who joins the team is going to really excel.
Yeah.
This year's virtual team, I got some like big dogs this year.
Woo.
Athletes who are already good.
Yeah.
Like Jaya, she was the Gatorade Athlete of the Year last year out of New Mexico.
Okay.
She's on the team, so we're going to see her progression. She already jumped 39.6 last year. So
Let's go.
this year is athletes who are already good, but taking them from good to great.
Yeah.
And then just really like excited to have our first Olympian make it. So we had athletes make nationals all the time, but now it's making the
Right.
actual roster.
Taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I put that together and said, okay, I have the youth team, the virtual team, like end season training for the virtual stuff. I'm like, this is actually an academy. Like it's from beginning to the next level.
Yeah.
And the college recruit 101, it's like now the whole thing's in play. Like literally how to get in shape, how to mentally be ready,
Yep.
how to talk to college coaches, and then move on. Like, so now I created the college recruit 101 program, but now it's the Leap Squad Academy,
Yeah.
which is a whole thing together.
Right.
And I have
Yeah.
a couple athletes that have already like joined into that process, and it's ready to go. So I mean, now it's like you have a resource for everything that you need. So that's
exciting.
what's next. Basically, it's just like ironing all those things out, and then building the infrastructure inside to where now there's multiple versions of me and other coaches that I trust to kind of guide athletes through
Yep.
the mental piece, through the training, all that. So like literally it's building that. So I have athletes already in it.
Yeah.
It's already proven. It's a proven concept, but now it's just I'm naming it one thing to kind of embody everything together.
That's
so
awesome.
that's what's next for this year.
That's awesome, and that's
Yeah.
exciting, and definitely happy to watch it come together for you. So I appreciate everything that you do for the track and field community, especially the jumps. But yeah, and thanks for taking the time to chat again. It's always a good time chatting with you.
Yeah, it's always good catching up with you, and super excited for your growth as a person, dad, and coach, and everything, and athlete too. So
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, and congratulations on the wedding coming up here. So
thank you.
that's a whole new challenge coming up, being married.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, take care. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, thank you.
Peace.
Okay.